Flash! Ah! He'll save every one of us!
Yeah. Uwe Boll will save every one of us.
Yeah, he's Flash.
He's like a superhero.
He is. He speaks his mind. He's blunt. He's honest.
Yeah, he's not like these, SJWs.
Yeah, like those fake people in Hollywood that he loves so much, like Michael Bay.
Uwe Boll's movies kind of remind me of Michael Bay's movies a little bit.
I wonder if he'd hate us or if he'd... I guess he'll to be determined after this episode.
Yeah, he probably... we only have like 5 people that watch or listen to our podcast. One of them is gotta be Uwe Boll.
I hope it is after this. I hope he's looking up his own name and he finds this podcast and he listens.
What? You did not like my movie? Do you want to fight me?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, I'm good. I might come eat at your restaurant one day, though.
Yeah.
Once
Disease World ends.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome back to Screen Weens, the only podcast.
It's the only one out there. Thanks for listening.
We're talking about Uwe Boll or Uwe Boll, however you pronounce it.
It's pronounced Uwe.
It is Uwe?
That's what everyone in the documentary was saying.
That's what I've been saying. So I just wanted to make sure. Uwe, okay. Yeah. Uwe Boll. He's most notably known for being Mad Lad. Video game movies that got a lot of money somehow. And then... like Dungeon Siege, In the Name of the King, has $60 million budget. Yeah. It's like, where? No. Where did it go?
He's a pretty smart businessman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's made a bunch of video game adaptations, and we'll be talking about 4 of those, as well as one of his own films that is not based on a video game, Rampage.
Okay. I was like, is this what the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie's like?
No. Rampage, the video game series, is about actually, that's all. The Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson one is also not really about that. The original Rampage video game is about people that drink like a radioactive new soda or something, and then they turn into like giant monsters. They turn into giant kaiju, pretty much.
Yeah. So
good games.
This is all going to be blind to me. I have no frame of reference for these video games. I've never played like House of the Dead or Bloodrayne.
I have played a couple of House of the Dead games. I have played the remake of Alone in the Dark. I just bought the original just because I want to see it. I played like 10 minutes of it. I've heard it's really, really good. A lot of people consider it like the grandfather to like survival horror games.
Okay.
Came out in like 92. And then I haven't played Dungeon Siege, but like, who cares? And then Bloodrayne, I also haven't played, but
that one kind of piqued my interest from like a video game perspective. I watched the movie and I was like, I can see this, because obviously this probably isn't the best of adaptations, but I could see this working in like a video game format, like just the basic plot.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about that, but first of all, let's talk a bit about what we've been up to this week. I've been watching a lot of movies.
Yeah, I've watched quite a few.
So we watched Twilight.
Yeah, that was the last...
Me, Pierre, and Hinatea watched the rest of the series.
Yeah, I have them on my computer.
Are you going to watch them?
I'm going to. Yeah. I just...
because you could do it for thing.
I'm not doing it.
Okay, gotcha.
But,
it's... And about the same amount of enjoyment I remember having. I think that 2 is like a god-awful film. New Moon, I think, in general. Like, 1 is bad, like really bad, but really funny at times. I think 2 is just like boring and bad. But I legitimately think that 3 is pretty good. Like, not amazing, but like a 6 out of 10. I'm like, that's fine.
3 was the last one I saw.
Okay. And then Breaking Dawn Part 1, I think is like really bad. And it's really long. Like, it's only 2 hours, but it's a part 1 that doesn't need to be there. Like, they could just put all that stuff in, like, 30, 40 minutes and just make the second part, like, 3 hours long.
Yeah, but Hollywood, they gotta do that nice, this is the last book of our franchise that we're trying to milk. Cut it in half.
Yeah. And then part 2 is decent. It's not as good as, like, Eclipse, but it's fine. There's some fun. It's like a good send-off for a series.
I'm pretty sure I read your review for Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Oh.
So.
And then I watched GoldenEye.
Yeah.
And that one was really good.
I saw your review for that one.
Okay. I really enjoyed that one. I'm hoping to enjoy some of the other James Bond or Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies. But instead, I watched the Maze Runner trilogy.
I didn't read the reviews, but I saw those were popping up on my timeline. I
gave them all 5s out of 10.
Isn't, what's his name, Baby Driver, pedophile guy in those movies?
No.
Am I think...
It's the guy that looks like him, well, I don't know.
I thought...
You're thinking of Divergent.
I am thinking of Divergent. Okay. Yeah.
They all kind of blend together.
I still have to throw away my Blu-ray copy of that movie.
Divergent?
No, Baby Driver.
It's like, this film is cursed. I can't even touch it. Maze Runner was fine. It's like I had seen the first one, and I liked it a little more this time around. Okay. It's like, it looks really nice for being like low budget. It's not like low budget, but it has like a $32 million budget, and it has a lot of like visual effects for having that budget.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, this is half the budget of In the Name of the King, a dungeon siege tale.
Yeah.
It's probably because I think the director of it, he was like a first-time director. He had done like a short film and then won the contract to fucking direct those movies based on that. And he was like a visual effects artist before that, so he probably just had a better understanding than most regular directors. Mm-hmm. But it looked pretty nice, and it was fine. It was a fun enough watch. And then
I'd probably hate it. I hate like those post-apocalyptic young adult novels.
That's what we're just like watching young adult novel stuff right now. We just watched The Chronicles of Narnia yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that pop up.
Have you pretty decent.
You ever seen like the old ones?
No, I haven't. I've read a couple of the books and I've watched the trilogy that came out, but I haven't watched the originals. I know there were a couple like made for TV, like live action stuff, and then there was one animated adaptation of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in like 79. So
yeah, I remember being in the 4th grade, and that was around the time that the
first one
and the Wardrobe had just come out in theaters. And she's like, "We're gonna watch The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe," and the whole class was like, "Oh yeah, fuck yeah!"
You watch the animated one?
No, it was like the old TV one. It
was it good?
I don't think so. I remember Santa Claus is in it. Is he in the new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I think that happens in the books too.
Yeah, it does.
I only read like the first book, whatever, so many years ago. Not The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but the one with like the magical cupboard or something like that. I don't know.
The reading order is all messed up because Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe technically is the first published one, but then there are two that are like before.
Yeah.
So that was surprisingly still held up pretty well. I think that a lot of it comes from the fact that like Tilda Swinton's really good in it.
I forgot she was in there.
Yeah, she's like the main antagonist. And then Liam Neeson plays Aslan. He's the voice of Aslan.
Oh, okay.
And he's really good as Aslan.
Makes sense.
So it's a little long. It's 2.5 hours. So, but its pacing's pretty good after like the first like 40 minutes. The first 40 minutes is a little rocky because they're trying to establish a bunch of stuff, and it's not Narnia, so it's just like, ooh, the World War II's happening.
Oh yeah.
And then I watched 2 Nolan films. I watched Interstellar because that was playing at the theaters
nice.
for like $5.
Oh, cool.
So I went and saw that. And have you seen that?
No, I've got the 4K for it.
I love it. It's beautiful. That's a beautiful fucking movie. I loved it. That's my favorite. Like, Nolan in general, I've been kind of iffy on. Like, I've enjoyed all his films, but besides, like, I really love Batman Begins, but, like, nothing else really, like...
Have you seen Memento?
I haven't seen Memento.
Memento's good.
And I think there's another one called, like, Following. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen a couple of his, like, earlier stuff.
I haven't seen most of his.
But I've seen, like, The Prestige. I've seen Inception. Interstellar, Batman trilogy, and I've seen Tenet now. So Interstellar, incredible. I loved it. Tenet, it was good. I really like Pattinson and John David Washington in it. They're pretty fun, but the writing for women in that movie is really rough. It's like there's one woman in it that's really central to everything, and her main characteristic is just I'm a mother. I must protect my child.
Oh, gross.
And that's it. That's all she says. I'm like, that's really annoying. But it was pretty easy to follow.
Every review I see of it just randomly is I don't understand. And it's
people say that about every Nolan movie. And I haven't had difficulty understanding any Nolan movie. I don't know if it's just because I watch a lot of movies or I'm just good at guessing things. I don't know.
Maybe you're better at picking up on higher concepts.
But I was confused the first 20 minutes, but I think that was just because the main character was also confused. He's like, "What's going on?"
Well, yeah,
and then as he starts explaining more, I'm like, "Oh,
yeah." Typically, that's how you want to kind of introduce films like that. You want to leave some mystery that you uncover throughout the course of the film.
This is gonna taste like ass.
The citrus pretty much overwhelms the rest of it doesn't taste like green tea or
just tastes like lime.
Orangish. That's what I got out of it. And if you don't like it, I'll drink the rest of it.
And then did I do anything else this week? Just been playing board games. Been losing Legendary a bunch. Which is the Marvel deck builder for people that don't know. I've lost 4 games in a row. I'm like, what the fuck? In the last game I played, we died. And we died at the beginning of my turn, but if I had been able to take that turn, we would have won. And I'm like, ah!
Tragedy.
Yeah, I started work again and all that jazz.
Oh, nice. How's that going?
It's going pretty good. I feel like I've been reduced to pretty much just IT support for children. Because they're doing remote learning, so I'm just watching them on their computer and they always need help. I'm like, you click this button.
Oh, nice.
But it's been fine. How about you? What have you been up to? Watching a bunch of furry shit.
Yeah, I've watched quite a few werewolf movies this week. I watched one I really like called Bad Moon. That was my first werewolf movie that I started this week with.
Yeah.
Stellar movie. It's about a family dog that basically tries to... So basically, this single mother... Her brother, returned from the jungle, within the last few months, and he's a werewolf.
Oh.
And he needs a place to stay, so he, moves his RV into their backyard, and they've got, this very loyal German shepherd called Thor. And the movie...
Thor?
Yeah. The movie's basically just about this German shepherd trying to protect his family from the werewolf that lives in the backyard. It's pretty fun. It's got its issues.
It's a fun time.
But I had a fucking blast with it. And then I rewatched... An American Werewolf in London,
Still haven't seen it.
Widely regarded as one of the greatest werewolf movies of all time.
Is that by John Landis?
It is by John Landis. And I used to love this movie when I was in middle school. I still like it, but I liked it a lot less than I did.
Sad.
Yeah. And I feel... You'll see. I'm going to make a video on it some point in the future. You guys will hear my in-depth thoughts on the movie. Then I watched this shitty YouTube short film called Moorbach Monster Terror that was also werewolves. That was pretty bad.
Got it.
I rewatched. I had seen it years ago, but Stan Helsing.
Yeah. That movie's rough.
That movie's way rougher than I remember. Oof.
I bet.
Then I watched the sequel to An American Werewolf in London.
I thought you were going to say the sequel to Stan Helsing. I'm like,
is there a sequel?
No, that's why I was so surprised. I'm like, excuse me? Is it An American Werewolf in Paris?
Yes, and that one's got Julie Delpy in it.
Oh yeah, I saw that review. It was really funny
because it's the same basic plot synopsis, because it's about an American guy who goes to Europe and falls in love with Julie Delpy. Only in this movie, she turns out to be a werewolf and not a cool woman.
A cool, epic feminist.
Yeah, exactly.
And that movie was bad, right?
Yeah, it's bad. I thought it was pretty entertaining, though, and the Julie Delpy definitely made it worth the watch for me.
Sure.
Then I watched this movie. It's not related to American Werewolf in London or Paris, but it's called Mexican Werewolf in Texas. Terrible. Shitty movie. Not even about a werewolf. It's about El Chupacabra, so...
Spoiler.
They make that very apparent pretty early on. And it's pretty racist.
Were you pretty, pissed when they made that apparent? You're like, this is not a werewolf movie!
I was pretty tilted. I was like, okay, well, now I gotta finish this.
Yeah, I feel like...
Then I watched the highlight of my fucking week. I'm Thinking of Ending Things from Charlie Kaufman. That movie fucking gave me a blowjob on the toilet. I enjoyed it so much.
Were you sitting on the toilet?
No, I was.
I'm gonna watch it on the toilet. Just like Kaufman would want me to.
But that movie was fucking great. Loved it. I think I'm gonna reread the book this month. But yeah, then I watched a shit ton of Uwe Boll movies, and here we are. I also played a little bit of Fall Guys and a little bit of Rocket League.
Rocket League's my jam. It's very fun.
I've never, I had played one game before. I'm terrible at it, but I am having so much fun with it.
No, I played it right when it launched. I played a bunch of it. Or not a bunch, but I played a decent amount. I really I'm pretty terrible at it as well, but it's just a fun game to play.
Yeah. I just join in random people's lobbies, and if I give them a bad time, I don't care.
It's ha-ha!
Yeah, more laughs for me. But yeah, that's pretty much been my week.
Cool, yeah. These Uwe Boll movies really were the highlight,
Oh, yeah, I sat down, because I had started In the Name of the King, 2 days ago or whatever, and then I got,
What version did you watch? How long was it?
There are multiple versions.
Yeah. How long was your version?
It was just over 2 hours.
Okay. I watched the Blu-ray version, which is the director's cut, which is so almost 3 hours.
You can answer some of my questions, what the fuck happened to Matthew Lillard's character in the last third of the movie? The last thing I saw, spoiler alert coming up, we'll dive deeper into this after questions, but the last thing I saw... Or do you want
to just talk about this when we get to that part?
I guess we can just so push this forward. Remind me of
That's really funny that, that's really funny. Because there were a ton of stuff that I'm this isn't important in the plot. This is probably what's cut. But the things that were important in the plot apparently got cut.
We'll see. It might end on the same note, maybe... Because, it kind of got resolved, but kind of not. We'll talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about Uwe Boll the person. Or wait, no, let's talk about questions.
Yeah, questions.
From Pierre. Woo! Yeah, I know. Pretty surprising.
Who?
Pierre. Podcast question. One. If you could decide what member of the iCarly cast got a solo movie, who would you pick?
Spencer.
Yeah, that's not...
Spencer. A backup answer, Gibby.
Neville Papperman.
He told Carly she'd rue the day.
Yeah. It's going to be like a Megamind-esque movie about Neville Papperman.
He's like, oh man, iCarly's been off the web for 15 years now. I don't know how long it's been in real life. Probably nowhere near that long.
It's probably been close to 10 or 8. It's been a while. It's been a while since I
could hold my head up high. iCarly, 2011, so 9 years.
Oh, Jesus. Makes me feel old. Do you think... This is actually a good question. Do you think Disney / Marvel should recast Black Panther? And if so, do you think they make them a new character? In canon, would Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther just be dead or retired or something?
It's
kind of a tricky situation.
Yeah,
with what they're trying to do. And did they? Because Black Panther 2 was on the slate. Did they film it?
I don't think so. As far as I know, he didn't tell anyone at Disney or anything, which I find pretty surprising. You think that they would be on it with the physical checkups and shit like that to make sure that they're, especially during COVID time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that they should do the thing that's been being talked about a lot online, which is make Shuri Black Panther.
Because she is Black Panther
in the comics.
Yeah.
Now, how they go about doing that, I would probably do a bit of a time jump with it, have it take place after the character died.
Yeah.
And I know
it's kind of how do you have the character die without making it just awkward?
Yeah, it would have to be maybe the film starts with his funeral, and it'd have to be some real hammy tribute kind of
which
stuff.
I never mind those because it's what
yeah, I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah, because I feel they could have a stand-in at the beginning of a movie to show Black Panther's death, but I feel that'd be kind of
I feel they
rude.
should do like the digital thing for this one movie, and I don't think he should have any lines or anything, and I don't even think his character should be like present in the movie. Like maybe like they reuse some footage of him like up in the clouds or something, like kind of like nodding to Shuri or something like that. You know, something akin to that, something that's not like rude but will appease, you know, the many fans that he had and will make it feel like it got a bit of closure in the story.
It's a pretty slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. I do not envy Disney right now. Well, maybe a little bit because they've got a lot of money. But
no matter what they do, they'll still be on top. Like,
but in this sense, I do not envy Disney. I feel like it. What? By the way, you don't have to like spoil the movie, but like, what did they do with Leia in Episode 9? Like, how did they tackle that situation? Because I know that they reused footage from 8.
They used some footage. She's just barely in it. She's like, they're like, we really wanted to make her she's not a prominent part. Like,
yeah, it's like that would be hard to do, but I'll watch Episode 9 one of these days. I'll have my questions answered.
Don't do it. Number 3. When do you think the podcast will blow up? By this, I mean fall apart and be discontinued after London forgets to edit out a racial slur.
Yeah, because we're constantly dropping those racial slurs, and London's got to edit them out.
That's exactly how. Well, blow up in that sense, probably never, because I try not to say racial slurs. Actually, I don't try. I just don't have the...
Yeah.
I don't want to say racial slurs. Blow up as in get super big, 2 days.
Yeah, like maybe 3.
3 days.
Being generous.
It'll happen.
Yeah, I feel like once...
Maybe.
I don't know.
If not, oh well. I just like doing this.
Yeah. I feel like the natural point for us to stop if we have no listeners is probably like 300.
Yeah.
Like that seems.
And then we'll get really big when we're like 60 years old. Somebody will find it and be like, wow,
they should start this shit back up again.
And then we will.
Yeah.
But I'll be half cyborg.
Yeah, of course, because it'll be the future. Yeah.
Thanks for the questions, Pierre. If you have questions, email them to 2weensandascreen@gmail.com or put them in the comments. All right, Uwe Boll, the man.
Yes.
He's a guy who owns a restaurant. Okay, so let's continue. No.
Yeah, so he's from Germany. He grew up and he basically like went to the theater all the time in Germany and watched a bunch of American movies. So his dream was to make movies in the English language. And he had made like a trilogy of films over in Germany, not like a literal like connected trilogy, but like 3 films. And then he got a chance to come over and make a film in Vancouver. And yeah, it's pretty much history from there. From there, he had this strategy where he would like basically just like look for actors who he could like pay for less because basically like no availability for work. So basically like he didn't like go super deep into the process in the documentary, but he briefly talked about it. But basically like looking for actors who are basically desperate for work at that point. Like they didn't have anything lined up, so he could get them for cheaper. So that was his strategy to get like all these kind of bigger names.
Yeah,
in
he
his
got a
movies.
lot of big stuff, but it was usually, it seems like right after like a big project where they don't really have any offers for a bit.
So he did that, and the way that his movies would make money is the DVD market. He would basically sell DVD rights to like Japan, for instance, like In the Name of the King, Japan, $1 million. But when the DVD market switched over to like streaming, the prices changed. So instead of like getting $1 million for selling his distribution rights for a film, it was more like 10,000, and that kind of tanked his ability.
Making fucking
exactly
movies. Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, at first he made movies that he was kind of passionate about, and then over the course of time, basically like House of the Dead is the film that kind of marks the start of when critics started paying attention to him and deeming him as like,
which is funny. That was his first director. Like video game movie. Too.
Yeah. So basically from that point on, he made films to like offend sometimes. Sometimes you could tell he was.
Yeah, he made the fucking. He made the adaptation of Postal.
Yeah.
Which was a popular video game series. Postal. I don't know if you've ever played Postal.
I haven't, but I saw some clips from the movie and the documentary. I also saw some clips from Bloodrayne, which...
That one.
Yes.
They also made a movie about Auschwitz.
He did. He made Bloodrayne, Auschwitz, and Bloodrayne 3 all at the same time, because in order to make Bloodrayne 3, he had to, basically, fund it by making 2 more movies for the studio. So he basically, the lead actor for Bloodrayne wrote some notes in the Bloodrayne 3 script, just on the side. And then he's like, okay, yeah, that's Bloodrayne. So that's what Bloodrayne ended up becoming. And he's like, whatever, we just need to get to 77 minutes. And
they almost picked that one.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't.
But I wanted to focus more on the video game stuff. And then one that's not a video game.
And then Auschwitz was the other movie, and he would just ask actors the guy who's in Rampage. I don't know his name, but the
main guy in that.
Yeah, he's worked with Uwe 10 times.
Yeah, he's the taxi driver in Alone in the Dark right at the beginning.
Yeah.
He's my favorite part of that movie too.
I feel it. Yeah, basically Uwe would come up to him and be like, "Oh, you want to be in this movie about Auschwitz?" And he's like, "Wait, we're doing a movie about Auschwitz now?" Just that shit would pop up at random on a day. And apparently there are stories he wouldn't even look at the scene he was directing. He'd be reading a magazine and he'd just be he'd listen, he'd hear it, and then he'd look over to his DP and he's was it good? Okay, cut. He's very much like Ed Wood in the sense where he's
and his DP he uses for every movie. It's so bad.
Yeah,
it's not as bad. It's actually not as bad in honestly, In the Name of the King, I feel looked the best out of all the movies and had the most consistent camera shots.
Yeah.
But Rampage, some of it didn't look bad, and then some of it was just they were just literally throwing the camera up in the air.
He has this he has a name for it, but it's guerrilla war film shoot style or something
I get
that.
I get what they're going for. It doesn't work. It doesn't work unless in found footage maybe.
I think
but when the camera is not a character, it doesn't work in my opinion.
Clint Howard in the documentary kind of described what he thinks Uwe Boll is on the inside as a filmmaker. He basically thinks that there's 2 halves to Uwe Boll. There's the half of him that's really passionate about film. And then there's the half of him that's the producer and wants to be efficient and make money. And Uwe's philosophy is basically, well, why can people in Hollywood make shit films? Michael Bay, that's his go-to example. He's Transformers is shit. I could make a better Transformers.
I might agree with that.
I might agree with that as well.
At least a more entertaining one than most of the Transformers.
Yeah. But
give Uwe Boll $300 million.
Yeah.
And send them off.
But basically his philosophy is, why is it okay that they get to make shit movies, but I, Uwe Boll, make a shit movie and I'm the worst person ever. Everyone fucking hates me. And of course this eventually led to him
quitting.
He didn't quit initially. He did eventually retire because it got to the point where he was he's got a very well, I'm me, I'm doing what I'm doing, and if you don't like it, then fuck you. That's his attitude. Yeah. He's a very personality driven director. And it got to the point where he's okay, I'll fight some of my critics. I'll invite them over and I'll do a Raging Bull where I'll fight them. And he did that, and then that didn't go over so well. That didn't help his image at all. And then eventually some people threw together an online petition. They're hey, Uwe, please stop making movies. And it got a shit ton of signatures. And Uwe claims it's because if you signed the petition, you got a free pack of gum. Because apparently that was a thing that was with the petition. So he's
that's why.
Yeah. Which I think that probably had an effect on the results, but I think most of the people probably signed it probably just like Uwe Boll haters, honestly. It's not that
I don't think he's a very nice guy. I think he's a dickhead, but...
Yeah.
I think his movies are...
The documentary I watched was really interesting. I want to call it one-sided because, like, everyone who talked about Uwe on the film was someone who's, like, worked with him a lot and liked him, but there was a lot.
But there are a lot of people that have worked with him and hated working with him.
And they didn't get any of those guys, but it was just, like, the people who, like, worked with him and they're like, yeah, he's an eccentric character, and they basically, like, described some of his, like, flaws and stuff, and they like, shit-talked him, but it was all from, like, a kind of
a loving
semi-positive angle. So I think it would have been interesting if they had gotten some people who like just straight up fucking hate.
Oh, that guy's the worst.
They got one of the guys that he beat up, like one of the critics, and he spoke pretty like positively for the most part. Like it obviously he didn't have like super nice things to say, but he's like, oh yeah, he's a character, you know. But yeah, Uwe Boll. He's a guy, and now he's retired, and he's got, like, one of the highest-rated restaurants in Canada, or, like, Vancouver.
Is it highest? I knew it was, like, positively rated. I don't know. It was, like...
And that's really, what the documentary said.
Well, we do know it's pretty one-sided, so we don't know.
But, yeah, he's got supposedly a pretty good restaurant in, Vancouver. I thought it was a pizza place, but the documentary
ranked 37th on the 2016 list of Canada's 100 best restaurants.
Okay. Not bad.
It is also listed in the world's 50 best restaurants Discovery series in 2017. Being one of the only 3 Canadian restaurants to be included.
That's pretty neat.
Boll has remarked about his newfound success in owning a restaurant. It's interesting, right? I had to open a restaurant to get good reviews.
Yeah.
Got him.
But, yeah, that's Uwe Boll. He doesn't like internet critics, so he would hate us. There's this clip on the documentary where he's, like, going through, like, found, like, a negative YouTube review, and he's, like, looked and made at a movie they made when they were, like, 12, and he's like, this is shit. They're shit-talking my movie? I feel like if he was, like, to look at us, he'd look at, like, DDoS, and he'd be like, oh, this is shit. And it's like, yeah, no shit. It's
supposed to be bad.
Yeah, that was intentional. And also, we weren't making an official, like, feature film.
Yeah, also, we made it in a day.
Yeah. So.
We made it, like, 3 hours.
But excuses. Our film should still stand, I guess.
I think it's better. I think it looks better than a lot of Uwe Boll movies.
Maybe some of his earlier ones.
I think it looks better than Bloodrayne, I'll say it.
Maybe better than Rampage.
Yeah. I can make a better Rampage, I think.
I think most people can.
All right, so let's get started in talking about his movies. Starting with House of the Dead, which that was his earliest stuff that we're talking about this year.
It's the only one out of this selection that I had seen.
So. I'm just going to say it right now. There are parts of this movie that I love. There are parts of the movie that make me laugh so much.
Yeah, no, it's
this one I think is his most entertaining film out of the ones we watched this week.
And this one makes me a little dizzy, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I get that.
The camera work when it's like I like the effect. Like I like that. Like
the spinning around a character. I think it's like inventive and it matches like a video game tone. Maybe not House of the Dead in general. Like as much as I can remember, but
because because it's just like a point and shoot game, isn't it? Like from the arcades.
Yeah. So this very simple plot. These people go to an island. Island is full of zombies. Zombies kill everyone. They find out that the leader of the zombies is this old Spaniard.
Spanish pirate.
He was like a Spanish pirate, and he learned the secret to immortality, pretty much.
Yeah.
And he's been on the island killing people ever since.
Yep. And, so these, like, college-age kids, I don't know.
They just die, and then they fight back.
Yeah. And, if he had waited like 10 years, he could have marketed this as an Island of the Dead movie, or Dead Island, or whatever the fuck they
Dead Island. Because this does not... They go to a house later on, but most of the time they're just on the island. Yeah.
And half the time it doesn't even look like an island. It looks like just they shot in a forest.
Yeah.
So I think they only like went to a coast maybe once or twice during the shoot. And like, yeah, this is an island. But
like this movie's really bad. But like there are parts that I think are legitimately good. Like I think that is a cool effect. Mm-hmm. And I also don't necessarily think it's super overutilized. Like they do it a lot in that one scene.
Yeah.
But then they do it like 2 more times in like the climax.
Yeah, they usually do it when like a character like dies.
Yeah, and then it goes red. I like that scene. I like that. It's just it has like a fun, goofy like video game feel to it.
Yeah.
But I really like, and there's this one part where a character jumps in the air with a shotgun.
Oh,
I really like that scene too. It's just like that whole like. With the music playing, the House of the Dead song playing, and that whole sequence in the courtyard, like area, I think is actually a pretty great scene. I think it's really fun.
Yeah,
I think it's probably the best shot scene in the film, and overall, I just think it's like really entertaining. And I because I had seen this movie as well.
Yeah.
Just a couple months ago too, I think.
Oh, really?
Or maybe beginning of the year. I've seen it kind of recently.
Oh, okay.
That's why I chose it. I'm like, I kind of like this movie. I don't like it, but I think it's really bad, but entertaining at times.
I feel it. I haven't thought about my numerical rating for any of these.
Because they're all just like, are they 1s or are they 10s? No,
it's more like, are they 3s or are they 4s?
And I think some of the characters all the characters are really badly written, but some of them, their performances are like so bad I really like them.
I feel
like there's a guy who gets like his face bitten off, but it's only one. It's just like it's
the zombie like pukes acid on his face.
Oh, that's right. But then so it's just a small area, and he just kept going like, "Oh, I belong in the circus."
There's a point where he calls himself the elephant.
Yeah, like the elephant. This movie has so many references to other movies.
Yeah,
and I think that's really funny.
Yeah, they bring up
this is just like Romero's. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just really funny, I think. Because I'm like, I wonder if Uwe Boll likes these movies or like he hates these movies he's referencing.
I'm sure he probably likes them.
Yeah. But I just there are just lots of things in the movie I think are pretty funny.
Yeah. Something that's not like outwardly stated as a joke, but like just the idea of it I found kind of funny. So there's like the kind of like journalist or news guy, whatever. He's like going around like seemingly like interviewing people during it. He's like one of the main characters. And they're like capturing the camera, and we see that they've got like footage of like the zombie stuff like when it first happened. So it's like the idea of like everybody on this island, if they did die by the end of the movie and this camera being left behind, it's like you see all this scary footage with the zombies attacking like the rave, and then you would see just like some dude coming out of a shitty porta potty because he started filming during that. And this is like, yeah, priorities guy. But yeah.
Yeah, it's just a goofy little time. I think that I really like the soundtrack in this movie. Like a lot of it isn't tonally consistent, but which is a big problem I have with a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. But because this movie's so like weird and goofy and bad, I kind of like that it's so weird and like tonally inconsistent. They're like running and then like techno starts playing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck?
I kind of like the main zombie's design too. Like with the kind of like dark scarring like all over his body. Kind of like the vanilla chocolate swirl Darth Maul-esque kind of look.
Yeah, and I like how bad the really old zombies look.
Oh, yeah.
They remind me. There are a lot of things in this and the main like the Krugs or whatever they're called in the Dungeon Siege movie. They remind me of Power Rangers, like bad guys. I think Uwe Boll should direct a Power Rangers series.
He should.
Some of the action even remind like a lot. I think I like these movies partially because they remind me of Power Rangers.
I could understand that.
and the less they feel like Power Rangers, I feel like the less I enjoy them. I also think that Clint Howard's pretty funny in this movie.
Yeah. I remember Clint Howard being like much more prominent part of the movie from when I was younger.
Me too, and I just watched this like 4 or 5 months ago.
There was like a clip they showed in the documentary, because I watched the documentary like right before I watched House of the Dead. And in the documentary, like there's this scene where he's like given the topless.
I watched it in April.
Oh, nice. He gives the that's not long ago at all.
Yeah.
He gives like the crucifix to the topless girl in the boat, and like in the documentary they like show that he's like looking like he's like having a hard time like keeping his eyes up because she's topless, and that wasn't in the theatrical version. He was like, here, take this crucifix, it'll keep you safe. And it's like, huh, weird. I wonder why they used that clip in the documentary but not like the theatrical version. But yeah.
And yeah, like there's a lot of bad parts to this movie.
Oh yeah,
like most of it, but I just think this is really funny. And I know we talked about this before we started the podcast, but it's weird thinking that this was named like one of the worst movies of all time. And I'm like, do you know who Charles Band is? Oh.
Yeah, he had been going for quite a while at this point. 2004, he had already...
And, like, I understand the budget was decent for this, but it's just, like, still.
They realized that the first Killjoy movie was released 4 years before this movie?
Yeah, and, like, Charles Band has made movies that aren't the worst, but there's a lot of them that are the worst.
Yeah, they're pretty
Like,
bad.
I enjoyed this movie substantially more than the vast majority or the majority of Full Moon movies I've seen.
I think I'd agree.
But I guess just because, like, House of the Dead was a pretty big, like, IP that, like, a lot of people know about that. Like, if you went up to a random person that, like, likes movies, 9 out of 10 times they'll know who Uwe Boll is, but they won't know who fucking Charles Band is.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't, like, who the fuck knows who Charles Band is?
Yeah, it's...
Me! You! Idiots!
Yeah, not too many people. Did you see that on Twitter? Full Moon's doing this thing where if you Photoshop your face into one of their posters, you can win a free DVD?
Do I want to spend the time?
I asked
DVD
myself...
of what?
I don't know.
It's a blank DVD. Here you go.
We'll give you a random one of our movies. Whichever one is a mystery.
Knowing
until
me, I
you
did
get it.
Killjoy.
Yeah, you're a goddamn. I think it's from one of their like cataloged movies that they've got like in stock or whatever. So I don't know if they've got DVDs of just Killjoy anymore.
Maybe I could get Blade. Maybe that's how I watch Blade.
There you go. Is it? Or no, wait. No, that's only on Full Moons, right?
What?
The Blade, like their streaming service.
You can get it on like Amazon, renting and stuff. But
I'm thinking of The Littlest Reich that's on Shudder.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just a goofy time. This one, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10.
That's also,
but it was almost a 4 for me. This time.
I feel the same way. It's
because I enjoy like.
Typically, 4s are movies I enjoy, but I acknowledge they're not good. And
I don't know. There are a lot of movies that I have given like 1s that I've enjoyed.
I will too. You know? Like it depends, but like 4 is like, oh, this is almost something.
Yeah. And I don't enjoy a lot of the movie. It's just like a couple scenes I actually love, and I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah.
All right, next movie. Is it Alone in the Dark, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
The
first, 10 minutes of this movie are really fun.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes of this movie, I think, are, actually pretty good. Like, for being, they're schlocky and they're silly, but...
of course.
They're pretty good.
It was like a Christian Slater, Indiana Jones on, meth. Maybe not meth, but...
Yeah, on meth.
But
and then he gets into a taxi with fucking the guy from Rampage.
Yeah.
He's pretty funny in this movie.
Did Rampage come out after both?
Yeah, Rampage came out after all the movies we're talking about this time. Rampage came out in 2009.
Oh, shit. What the... He must have had no funding for that movie.
He starts to just like make low budget stuff after about.
I didn't even look
after
at the year.
He made a Far Cry movie, and then after that, he started doing lower budget stuff
with Tom Holland.
What? You're thinking of Uncharted.
I am. Fuck. My bad. I don't play video games.
That's okay. Far Cry is pretty good. Far Cry 1 and Far Cry 2 were pretty good. Wasn't really a fan of the rest, but...
Isn't, there's somebody in Far Cry. I saw that in the fucking documentary. I can't remember if it was Keith David or J.K. Simmons. I know J.K. Simmons was in one of his movies.
None of those people are in Far Cry.
Ah!
J.K. Simmons is in Postal, though.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm thinking of. Oh, no. One of the actors from Twin Peaks is in Far Cry.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's funny.
One of the best characters from Twin Peaks, too. But he wasn't, like, a super popular actor. He's dead now, though. Don S. Davis. But
I know that guy.
Yeah. One of the great characters of Twin Peaks. Anthony Bourdain was in his Far Cry movie as scientist number 1. What the fuck?
I mean, yeah, all his old stuff had like this. What the fuck did House of the Dead had Clint Howard, and it had
Is that the guy from The Nanny?
Who?
The Clint Howard's captain. It might not. It might just kind of look like that guy to me, but The Nanny.
He's in Twin Peaks. Fire Walk with Me. So that means he's probably in Twin Peaks.
Let me look this up real quick.
He's in Das Boot.
All right, let me go to House of the Dead. Oh God, why?
He's in The Mouth of Madness.
The John Carpenter one?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I still need to watch that. Let's see. What the fuck is this guy's name? Where is he? Where is this guy? Him? This guy?
That's my favorite thing to do is just go on like IMDb or Letterboxd and just like look at the things that people in Uwe Boll films have been in. Been like, wow, they were in all these things and they chose to be in an Uwe Boll film.
Yeah, whatever.
It's less so in like House of the Dead because it's like early stuff, but it's just like, huh.
I can't find that guy on here, so it must. Oh wait. Oh. Who is he in? Oh, I know who he plays in Twin Peaks. He's not a super big character. He's more of like
3 feet tall in it.
He plays one of the woodsmen.
The woodsmen. Yeah, know them.
Yeah.
Oh, I watched all of two. Oh, I watched Bleach.
Oh yeah,
me and Taylor just finished season 1 last night or this morning.
Oh, nice.
Last night.
Very nice. It's not the guy from The Nanny. I was thinking of Charles Chagas. Oh God, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm bad with names. You all know this at this point. And that name is Shaughnessy.
Anyway. Yeah, so Alone in the Dark has Christian Slater, who's a pretty big actor. And it also has Stephen Dorff.
It's got Tara Strong, is that her name? From Big Lebowski and American Pie and stuff like that.
Tara Reid.
Tara Reid, yeah.
She's an awful actress.
She is.
She's so bad.
Yeah.
Which I think most of my enjoyment from this movie came from, like, the terrible acting. Because I think Christian Slater in general is trying.
Yeah.
And it's really, really funny watching him act next to Tara Reid. Because he's, like, trying his hardest. And she's like, but the tablet, you don't want me to open? And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, like, her being, like, this fucking, like, ancient archaeologist or whatever she does. She catalogs for a museum, ancient artifacts, and it's just like, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I've seen you in too many other movies where I feel like you play a certain type in other movies like Sharknado, Big Lebowski, Van Wilder, American Pie trilogy. So it's like, I don't know. It's a hard transition.
Will Sanderson in this movie, the guy who plays Agent Miles. He's in fucking House of the Dead, Bloodrayne, and In the Name of the King.
Oh, yeah.
He just keeps showing up.
Yeah. I thought he was from Twin Peaks when I saw him, because he looks like an actor.
He's also in Seed, which is another Uwe Boll film, which I almost picked.
I'm glad you didn't. Well, maybe it would have been better.
We should have just watched, like, all of Uwe Boll.
How many movies has he directed?
32.
No.
I feel like I'm going to watch them all.
I'm probably going to watch the sequels to the ones that we started. And then
so Rampage, Bloodrayne, In the Name
sequel
of the
to
King.
Rampage?
The's 3 Rampages.
I'm probably not going to watch the Rampage sequels, if I'm being honest. Spoiler alert, that's the one I wasn't super crazy about.
Oh, that's... Because that's his highest rated one out of the ones.
I know.
And I'm like, I think... I can kind of see why. Because, like... I also wasn't a big fan of it. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll talk more in depth about that movie soon. But Alone in
the Dark is honestly mostly just a bit boring.
Yeah, it has a promising start, and then
and I like the scenes between Christian Slater and Tara Reid. But
yeah,
here's a quick rundown of the movie. Christian Slater steals an ancient artifact.
Yep. And then
there's another ancient artifact.
Yeah, he used to be in the FBI for this...
he used to be in Division 713 or something like that, which is like a paranormal investigation.
X-Files.
Yeah.
And then he got let go because he was there, or he quit, whatever, because he couldn't... They basically, anytime he felt like he was getting close to the truth, they would just classify it from him. So he's like, well, fuck this, I'm going to leave. And I guess they erased his memory of all the shit he knew when he was with them. And then he basically finds this ancient artifact. It's, what's the name of the, Native American tribe that I am assuming they make up?
The Obniat?
I guess I can... It starts with an A.
I don't remember. There's an ancient Native American tribe who was super culturally advanced, but then they disappeared one day. Anyway, these big demon things started showing up and killing everybody. And Christian Slater's like, we have to stop them.
Things. They even call them Xenos or something.
Yeah.
It's just oh wow, that's pretty fucking obvious.
They look pretty bad.
Yeah. CG monsters.
There's a couple times they're death screams or there's a couple sequences where they're dying or something and I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting looking, but it never looks good.
Yeah, I like the one scene where it's it kind of the one security guard towards the end is checking out that body that he can hear. It's oh, they're breathing or whatever. You can kind of tell they're still alive, and he looks over and their head's kind of split and it's bubbling.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty neat.
There are a couple interesting moments, but it's just not as nearly as much as
but basically Christian Slater, before he was in the FBI, grew up in this orphanage where all 20 of the kids went missing, and it turns out they had these ancient creatures basically put into their spinal columns.
Symbiotes, pretty much. They fused to their... They pretty much made them sleeper agents, but with a twist where they have centipedes fused to their fucking spine.
The Tinglers.
Is that what they were called?
No, just Vincent Price's movie, The Tinglers.
I haven't seen that.
I've seen bits and pieces of
The Ticklers. Yes. But fucking Christian Slater's character, when he was young, got electrocuted at that time, so the thing inside him died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, he steals an ID card from the guy who's in charge of the X-Files now, and he breaks in, talks to one of his FBI buddies, who then later gets possessed by one of those spinal column things. Turns out, Tara Reid's boss, the guy who works at the museum, is behind all of this, and he wants to get all the pieces to open up this door that's been sealed for years that'll awaken the darkness.
And he does.
And yeah, he does.
All the sleeper agents come out. They all die.
Yeah.
I feel one of the big things is I'm this could be an interesting concept because it's oh, these are the friends I grew up with. He has a friend, John, that he talks to on the phone once. And then they just don't care about the consequences of that? Or they're dead.
There's a whole scene where he talks to John's wife on the phone. He's like, I'll get back to you. I'll let you know. I was like, all right, this could make for some sort of development, but no.
And then nothing happens. Like,
yeah.
All right.
Anyway, yeah. They've also got light, like these fucking like bioluminescent resin bullets. So it's like light tip bullets because light hurts the monsters. Stupid. Anyway, so yeah. Basically, they blow up the door, and they escape. They're like, yeah, we did it. And then everybody on the surface in the city is gone. They got Thanos. They're just not there. And it's like, this is the same thing that happened to the tribes from 10,000 years ago. The end.
And then they get jumped. And then
oh, yeah, it does the Evil Dead ending where it's like right up into Christian Slater's face.
Yeah. This one was also not good, but I like some of the bad acting.
Yeah.
There are interesting concepts, I think. It's probably from Alone in the Dark, the game series, though.
Probably.
But there's like interesting things in it, and I kind of like a couple of the scenes.
Yeah, that opening scene with like the big guy that like just
I think that was like really fun.
Yeah, that's like the best part of the movie. Might be the best part of any of the movies we watched. Pretty great. He's just like shooting him, and the guy's just like, oh fuck, and he just keeps going, and it's just like, oh damn.
Oh, there's a fun little sequence where he shoots the bullet and it goes inside the gun and fires out.
Yeah,
that was actually pretty good too. Like there are occasionally good special effects, or at least maybe they don't look great, but they're creative and they're fun. Yeah. Thomas is getting a call from the President of the United States. He wants him to know that he's fired.
It's just a Twitch
notification.
Yeah.
So I would also give this one a 3, though, but this is like a low 3 for me.
Yeah, I would also give this one a 3.
Okay, cool. So the same year, Bloodrayne came out. Wow, he made 2 of the greatest films of all time in 2005. So Bloodrayne is bad.
Yeah, it's about this human turned vampire. What's the term that they use?
Well, she's not a human turned. She's a half human, half vampire. So her mother was a vampire, I believe, or her dad was. One of them was a vampire, so she was. It's called a Dompier, I believe.
Okay.
So she escapes from this circus freak show by killing everybody. She wants to kill all the vampires. Her dad?
It's to my understanding that her dad...
So Kagan...
is Kagan.
Yeah, and then he comes back and rapes her again.
See, I don't think that's what happened. I think this is my understanding of it. He had raped her mother, which resulted in, like, her, and then he came back because he wanted the girl, and there he choked her, because we didn't see any sort of, like, rapage in that scene.
Well, later on in the movie, she says, I was there to watch it, or something, right in front of my eyes.
Oh, I don't remember. I remember her saying, like, you raped my mother, but that was, like, the...
I don't know. Ben Kingsley's a guy in this. He's really bad in this.
Yeah, he plays Caden? Is that his name?
Kagan. With a G.
Yeah.
Everyone's really bad in this one.
Meatloaf's in this movie.
Meatloaf's in it?
Yeah.
Is he the main, like...
He plays that one vampire with all the, like...
Oh, that's Meatloaf!
Yeah, that was Meatloaf. And fun fact, this apparently upset a shit ton of people over here, but all the vampires he had around him in that scene were prostitutes.
That's powerful.
Yeah, like Uwe Boll was just like, yeah, I'll just hire some prostitutes. Like, pay them double what they would normally get paid for sex, and they can be in this movie, in the scene with Meatloaf. And then that, like, apparently sent the American distributors, like, haywire. They're like, no, you can't do that. And he's like, why fuck not? Which I agree with him on that.
Why not?
Exactly. Maybe he should have paid them more for being in a movie, but... I mean, I see nothing wrong with using sex workers in your film. But I guess some people just don't see it that way.
And those people should be obliterated.
Oh, like in Rampage. But not because that movie is scary. In a weird way. Like, obviously school shooter movies are scary, but
Yeah.
it was just bad.
Cool Cat stops a school shooter. We should watch some Cool Cat movies.
I would love that movie if Cool Cat had just come up and punched the main character in the face.
And then grabbed the gun and shot him.
Yeah. No need to fear, guys. I took care of it.
So she escapes, she goes and she collects these artifacts. She pretty much goes on a bunch of fetch quests to get these artifacts that make her more powerful, but also can make Kagan more powerful.
Yeah.
She gets captured.
Their body parts.
Yeah, they're body parts from an ancient vampire.
Which, spoiler for JoJo's, but a later JoJo part does that same concept.
They stole it from Bloodrayne.
Maybe. I don't know. If it's from the video games, yes. If it's from this movie, then the manga did it first. But I don't know what is movie original and what is from the video games. I would assume that's from the video games, though.
And all this time she's being aided by these humans. Mm-hmm. But Michelle Rodriguez, who's also one of the humans, turns on them and then gets everyone killed.
Yep.
Except for the main three. Then the main three go and fight the bad guy, and they win.
Yeah,
And
but
the movie ends.
the two die, the humans, and she's like, "Oh, the one that I fucked in the jail cell earlier." I thought that scene was super funny, by the way, because it's like, why don't you close the bars? Because like the whole time she's like grabbing onto the bars, and it's like just kind of like tugging with her, and it's like it was just a funny looking scene. I was like, what the fuck? But anyway, yeah, she tries to bite him on the neck, but he's like, "No, I'm done. I'm finished." Bleh. Dies. He doesn't want to be a vampire. And then she goes over, she sits on Kagan's throne, and then there's a montage of all the bloody scenes from the movie. And
Yeah,
she
and I
gives
was
an
like
evil
watching this,
smile.
I'm like, is this culminating in something? And then it just kind of ends.
Yeah, she smiles, and then we see her riding away on a horse, and that's the end of the movie.
It was not good.
Yeah.
This one I thought was the most boring, because there were no scenes in this that I thought were entertaining.
Yeah, no, I didn't find it very entertaining.
There were a couple parts that I thought were kind of interesting in concept, but those are probably from the video game.
Yeah, the body part element I thought was like the thing that carried me through the movie. I was like, this is cool. This is cool.
Yeah, this is interesting.
But that was about it.
Yeah, and I like the fight scene between her and like the ogre guy below in the cellar. Before she gets the eye, because it's really bad, but it's really funny. I actually did think that scene was pretty funny, because it was like, whoa, and then a little piece of something will fall off. I'm like, whoa, watch out!
Yeah. Ooh.
So I thought that scene was pretty funny, but that was about it.
saw plates.
The CGI saw, yeah, that whole sequence I thought was pretty entertaining, but that's about it.
I felt like this movie was probably trying to ride the Resident Evil wave.
Yeah.
That had come out by this point, I'm pretty sure. So
Don't worry, we'll watch that movie soon. I really don't like that movie. We'll watch all 6.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I'm going to do that for the channel. I'm going to review all 6 because I hate them. Yeah, like this one I have like the least to talk about. I just think this one's really boring.
I can get that.
I'd give this one a 2.
I'd probably give this one like a 3.
Whoa, another 3. Nice. Okay, then 2 years down the line.
Is this In the Name of the King?
In the Name of the King.
Okay, we can finally talk
So
about
you watched the one that's 2 hours and 7 minutes, and I watched the one that's 2 hours and like 48 minutes.
Yeah. Oh.
And I started, I'm like, that time can't be right. And then it was.
Yeah, okay.
Which is funny because like, so the things that while I was watching it, there were a lot of parts I liked about this movie in like a bad sense, but I was like, if I watch like the 2-hour version, I might actually think this movie's like a 4 or a 5. But hearing that they just take out like the parts that are needed, I'm like,
so, okay.
wow.
Well, let's hop right into the Matthew Lillard thing.
Matthew Lillard's like the secondary antagonist of this film.
Yeah, he plays the king's nephew, and he's basically
He's like the only one trying his hardest in this movie.
Yeah, he really is. And the last thing I see is like that little duel where basically like he's fighting the one knight, and then they announce the king is the secret son that nobody knew about, Jason Statham, farmer. And then he's like, what? And then he's gone.
Oh.
Never see him again. Do they execute him?
In the movie, like right before that, actually, before they announced Jason Statham was the king, that night just comes up and fucking slits his throat open.
That's not what happened in my version at all.
That's really funny.
What the fuck?
Maybe it's the Blu-ray, maybe it's like the uncut version, and they couldn't like show like a throat being slit open because it was rated like PG-13 or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, he was literally just like in shock. He's like, oh. But then he's just gone. He just never did.
No, they fucking executed him.
God damn. Okay. Well, that makes sense. That's kind of what I assumed happened off screen. So
one of my favorite things about this movie is the interactions between Matthew Lillard and Ray Liotta. Because Matthew Lillard's like trying his best. He's like, oh, you're not. He's like has an accent and stuff, and Ray Liotta has no accent, and he's over enunciating every single word.
Oh yeah.
And he's so fucking bad in this movie. Oh yeah. But I think it's hilarious.
It's probably because Uwe Boll. Because Uwe Boll, from what I saw, like they showed clips, he'll straight up be like, he doesn't like what you're doing on screen. He'll be like, "You're shit. You're ruining my movie." And I bet like the whole time he was probably just like laying into Ray Liotta, and Ray Liotta's like, "You think I need this? I was in Goodfellas, guy. I don't have to act good in your shitty movie. I can see fucking Burt Reynolds over there not giving a shit."
Burt Reynolds also wasn't giving a shit.
Yeah. So, oh man.
What's his name? The main knight.
I didn't catch his name. I don't know the actor's
Matthew
name.
Lillard. I think his name's Brian J. Tyler. That sounds. Brian J. White. That's Commander Teresh. I think he was trying his hardest too.
Yeah, no,
he was giving his all.
He was one who was trying. I'd say like the daughter seemed like she was trying a bit. Like it came off a little wooden, but it seemed like she was giving an effort.
Lily Sobieski. It's just funny because like all the veteran actors in this just don't give a shit.
Yeah, but all the up and comers are like, this is my chance.
And then Jason Statham's kind of in the middle. Like there are some scenes he's like giving it all, and then others he's just like completely tone deaf and mono.
I'm pretty convinced. I'm not a huge Jason Statham fan. In fact, I'd say I'm the opposite. I don't like Jason Statham.
I'm trying to. I guess I kind of enjoy him in some of the Fast and the Furious movies, but that's like one of the only things I've really seen him in.
Mm. But
I haven't seen Transporter or Snatch or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jason Statham is just like that in real life.
He's just kind of all over the place.
He's just like, yeah, I'm Jason Statham.
Actually, I feel like Ron Perlman was kind of trying in this.
He gave like half a shit.
Yeah. So did John Rhys Darby's.
Do you see more of Ron Perlman and what's the like brother-in-law character throughout the movie? Because you see them, but they don't do a whole lot.
I feel like they do. They probably do more in the version I watched.
Okay, because like they
do kind of disappear later on in the movie.
What happened in the version I watched is basically they got captured and they were pretty much chained up. They tried to escape once and it failed, and then the brother-in-law looked over at a girl and he was like, "Don't worry, we'll get you out of here." She's like, "We're gonna fucking die here, you idiot." And he's like, "Oh." And then they do the escape thing again, and then like Ron Perlman like dies a heroic death or whatever, and then I don't recall seeing the brother ever again in the movie from that point on.
He probably shows up one more time in the version I watched, but like they don't show up a whole lot near the tail end of the movie.
It's like, why were they in the movie? They serve no purpose other than to kind of
exposition for why Jason Statham's there.
Yeah, like just kind of to be like his adventurers throughout like the first act of this movie, and then they just like, why couldn't have kept Ron Perlman throughout the runtime of this movie? I think it would have. One of the things I was actually kind of interested to see was like maybe a scene where like Ron Perlman would be there and like be like, "Oh yeah, you know, I may not be your father, but I'm your daddy," or whatever. Like
the one from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, the Michael Rooker line. Like, I don't know. I wanted to see like more built on that kind of relationship.
Yeah, there's a lot of concepts. I feel like Uwe Boll has some interesting concepts in his movies sometimes, and then he just doesn't do it.
Yeah, I feel like if he sat down and gave like half more of a shit, his movies would be a lot better.
Yeah.
But
this movie in particular is the one that the Power Rangers combat feels like right up front, because the Krug or whatever just feel like a random Power Rangers enemy.
Yeah, they're just like orcs.
So I thought they were pretty funny, because like this is obviously like supposed to capitalize on Lord of the Rings because they have John Restart, like they have fucking Gimli in it.
Yeah.
But instead it just feels a lot like one of the Power Rangers Mystic Force to me.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like generic fantasy story.
Yeah. But this was probably like my second favorite of them, even at the 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like I was kind of spaced out by the end of it. I'm like, oh. But there were a lot of parts that I thought were really funny or like somewhat entertaining. And I think that like the final confrontation, like the final battle between him and Ray Liotta was really funny, because he's like, books! He's like shooting books at him.
Okay, does the version that you watched end as abruptly as the version I watched did? Because it ends with, like, basically right after the battle. Like, both Jason Statham and the one, like, magician warrior woman fall down. They hit the ground. Jason Statham gets back up and hugs his wife. And they're like, it's okay, our last son died, because we've got a new one.
That's a funny fucking part of the movie.
And then it just ends with them kissing. That's it. It's just like, bam. And it's like, is that other girl who just fell on the ground dead? Like, they don't show her getting back up. Like, the last time we saw her, she was just laying on the ground, looking pained. But
they're kissing. I've always wanted to tell you I love you. It's going out the window. And the credits are about to start, I believe.
So,
no, it ends the exact same.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it's like I didn't miss out on some fucking epilogue that wasn't included in my version or something.
It's really weird that a lot of people, like, I was reading reviews and they're like, where did the $60 million go? And I'm like, if you've seen another Uwe Boll film, you can also see that it looks exponentially nicer than a lot of them.
It looks better, and also he's got like a pretty high catalog of actors in this one.
Also, I can't imagine how much John Rhys Darby's had to be worth right at this point, because this is right when Lord of the Rings was like done. So, or I guess a couple years, but I feel like he's pretty high paycheck still.
Maybe.
And like. Yeah, the Krugs look really bad, but I think in general the costuming looks fine. Like there are a lot of and I think a lot of when you get into a building, a lot of them look decent or good. Like I can see where the money went.
Yeah. The wife in this movie was from Lost Highway, right? Or was it the one from Mallrats?
That's the girl from Mallrats.
The one from this movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They look, I can't tell them apart. They are the same person to me.
She's also the main love interest in Mystery Men.
Oh, we need to watch that or something. Maybe that'll be...
I rewatched it fucking...
Oh, no, don't tell me it doesn't hold up.
I rewatched it September last year, so just about a year ago. So originally I thought it was like not a masterpiece, but I thought it was pretty high.
Yeah.
So I think I gave it a 9 originally, like just as a kid, like over and over again. Mm-hmm. But I gave it a 7 this time around. I do think there are things that have aged pretty badly. And not all of it's as entertaining as I remember, but I still think it's pretty fun to watch.
A 7 is probably what it would sit at in my book, so...
Why are my feet in watermelon? I do not remember asking you to do that.
Uh-oh.
There's just a ton of great lines. I'll forgive you if you forget.
I just remember like stuff like oh no, like I turn invisible, but nobody can look at me. Like, and I can't look at myself, like shit like that.
How do you know you're invisible? I just gotta feel it. There's so much great stuff. Anyway, in the name of the
All-Star came from that movie.
Yeah.
People would probably give that to Shrek, but nope. This
if you watch the music video for All Star, it has parts of
the audition scene where they're trying out new superheroes to join the Mystery Men.
But yeah, overall, like, I'd probably still give this movie just a 3. Maybe if I watched the version you watched, I might actually give it a 4 because like an extra 40 minutes does significantly like slow down the film.
Yeah. I would give this one a 4 from what I saw. Aside from the Matthew Lillard bit where I'm like, what the fuck happened to his character? I thought it was...
And I thought Matthew Lillard was pretty fun in it. Like,
yeah, no.
I feel like he was pretty good in it. I just think a lot of the lines he had to deliver were pretty bad.
Yeah, he was definitely like overacting, but it seemed like he was actually like trying in some capacity.
Yeah.
Whereas,
well, and I also think that it exponentially makes it funnier when he's overacting. Ray Liotta's just not doing anything.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing? What's the photo for? Yeah. Like the way he was over-announcing that reminded me of that scene. Like, what is the photo for?
I feel it. You're the one who wanted it accelerated.
All right, and the final movie we're talking about today, Rampage.
So it's weird because this movie takes itself more seriously in a lot of ways than a lot of the video game stuff, but then some of the lines like take itself a lot less seriously. And I feel like there's too many like jokey bits for this movie to be like a serious film. I feel like it wants to be funny, but its subject material is just not something that's funny.
Yeah, I haven't seen... I've seen like the first like 10 or so minutes, but I hear that... what's that movie called? The Dirties? The Nasties?
The Nasties? The Crazies?
No, it's called The Dirties. It's like a dark comedy about school shooters. It's by Matt Johnson. I hear that movie's pretty funny, despite the subject matter, but I haven't seen it, so I can't actually legitimately
yeah,
speak
and I mean, like,
it.
I think you can make jokes theoretically about anything. They just have to be good, and Uwe Boll he just has the same delivery for, like, all his jokes.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are just like, haha, I'm gonna fucking murder.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think that's very funny, sir.
No, I didn't get any comedy from this movie, really.
Which is sad, because I kind of like some of the presentation of it. I do think that the main guy in it, I think he's pretty good for being a weird psychopath man.
Yeah, I think he like fits the role pretty well. Like I would look at that guy and be like, yeah, he seems like someone who would go and shoot up a town.
Yeah, and I don't even mind the comedy bits of it. So the premise is very simple. A guy is getting fed up with life and he shoots up an entire town and then blames it on his like old best friend who was always talking about like having to take action. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I made you a martyr. Yeah. And then he gets away with it, seemingly. His dad, the guy that got blamed, dies.
Yeah, and then his dad's getting arrested, and at the end, on the news, you hear him, he's like, no, it's Bill Williamson! Bill Williamson did it! And it's like, how do you know that?
Well, because he was sending the stuff, and...
Oh, yeah.
To his house.
Yeah. I guess that... Yeah. I didn't think about that at the time, but I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. My boy wouldn't do this! Like, I don't even mind the comedy bits, like, in the sense that I think it's okay to have comedy bits that are meant to fail, to, like, show that, like, this guy's actually, like, deranged, and he's, like, he thinks this is funny. Yeah. Like, I don't think... My main issue with this movie is I just think it's, like, really too long. I think it gets really boring.
Yeah.
I think that, like, because the Rampage itself lasts, like, an hour.
Yeah, it's the...
I think that the bulk of the interesting parts of this movie are before that happens. Like him just going around, like having altercations with people, and you kind of see him like about to snap, and then he suddenly gets calm or something like that. Yeah. Like, I think that's actually pretty interesting because it makes him a lot more menacing, and I wanted more of that. Like him just doing that a bunch would be fine, but he only does it in 2 places, really. And then he like kills people for like an hour. And I thought, like, if the movie was, like, an hour and 10 minutes and it was more like an hour of him, like, that fucking setup of him, like, going around talking to people and, like, getting angry and then, like, suddenly getting calm or something. Mm-hmm. And then, like, 10 minutes, the finale is just the Rampage itself. I think the movie could be good or at least decent.
Yeah, but no, instead, most of the movie is him going around and just, like, terrorizing people, being a terrible fucking person. Like, there's a scene where he goes in and basically, like, psychologically tortures a salon full of women before just, like...
Then leaves and then comes back and does it again and then kills them.
And it's just like, ugh, gross.
Yeah, and it's like, if it was just 10 minutes or, like, if you're gonna make him the protagonist, like, he's the protagonist, he's the main character, you need to, like, do something with him, and they don't really do anything with him, which is fine, but then don't make the Rampage last that long.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously supposed to be, like, a critique on, like, mass shooters and how they just function differently than other people and stuff, but Uwe Boll can't do that.
I feel like it kind of glorifies it in a weird way.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go so far as saying that it's glorification, because I feel like Uwe Boll did not want that at the very least. And I feel bad saying that, but when you fail to execute your critique, then it just ends up glorifying. Yeah. It's a glorification due to failure.
Yeah. It wasn't like an intentional thing, I don't think.
I hope because there were parts that I thought were interesting, and I did occasionally think that like some of the scenes were. I thought that the altercation with the coffee guy once he starts on his rampage was really dumb but kind of goofy. Yeah, because I'm just like, what the fuck? Yes. It's like, make a coffee like your life depended on it. Like, what the fuck?
At that point, I'd be like, dude, you're gonna fucking shoot me anyway. Go
that guy was. You're not really dumb. We're going coffee. But there were a lot of like interesting bits, and I thought the ending was kind of decent of him. Like, okay, this is how I'm gonna frame my friend and stuff. Like that I thought that was executed pretty well. But it's just like. It's just overly long. It's super long. Like, it's only an hour. I think this is the shortest movie of the ones we watched. Yeah. But it feels like an hour too long.
Yeah.
I feel like this would be better as, like, a short film. Like a 30-minute short film. Yeah.
It would definitely be better in that format, I think, as well. But, yeah, no, I did not like this movie. Not a huge fan of the imagery of just watching a guy go around and shoot up a town for an hour. Yeah. So that thing didn't used to bother me, but I find like shit like that kind of is bothering me as I get older.
Yeah, I get it. It's not necessarily bothering me at this point in my life. I'm sure it will eventually, but like maybe it's because I had a lot of bad acting and it like and the effects were really bad on like the bullets that I didn't really care, but or maybe it's just the fact that I was watching an Uwe Boll film and like it's an Uwe Boll film. Yeah. What are you going to do? But it wasn't bothering me too much. I just mostly thought it was boring, which is sad because I kind of was enjoying the premise at least. Because I'm fine with no matter how much fucked up shit, like as long as it's like handled well. And that just wasn't handled well in my opinion. Yeah. But so I'm guessing this is going to be like a 2 or a 1 for you.
I'm going to give this one a nice 1. Okay.
This one's also
a nice one. I mean, a not so nice.
This one's also going to sit at a 3 for me. I did think it was better than like Bloodrayne, and yeah, I didn't mind it personally. But well, Thomas, I have bad news. I thought this was going to be your favorite.
Really?
Yeah, but I thought we were. No, I just thought because I do think that it also has like. I think the script is also the best, not like by much. It's pretty bad. But.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my feelings on it were like the message that it was trying to drive home. While like, I agree to a certain extent, obviously not to the extremism that the main character is like. Oh, you know, it really like leaned on like population control, which isn't like. My huge issue, but like the stuff it was like bringing up earlier in the movie about like money and stuff, like I agree. I generally agree with like, you know, concept of money, social abstract, yada yada. It's jeez, I hit my computer. But it didn't feel like anything new or complex enough for me to give a shit or give credit for it.
Okay, so obviously I put Rampage at the top. Then I put House of the Dead is your second favorite. Then In the Name of the King. Then Alone in the Dark. Then Bloodrayne. Okay. It's probably all wrong.
Yeah, very wrong. So my rank was In the Name of the King, Bloodrayne, Alone in the Dark, House of the Dead, Rampage.
Wow. House of the Dead was at the bottom.
Rampage is out.
Well, yeah, right before that.
I might switch House of the Dead and Alone in the Dark. Like, a lot of, like, basically Bloodrayne to House of the Dead, they're all interchangeable. Like, I really don't give a shit. Like, I don't really favor one much above the other.
Okay.
But
what'd you think for me, then?
I thought, pretty wrong, but In the Name of the King, I thought was going to be your top. Bloodrayne, I thought was going to be your second one. House was the third. Rampage was the fourth. And then I figured Alone in the Dark was going to be, like, your bottom.
I mean, not super far off, I guess, but House of the Dead's number one for me, because I think that's the only one that I'd probably be fine with rewatching that one again in, not maybe 4 months, but maybe, like, a year. I don't want to really rewatch any of these. Maybe In the Name of the King, I'll watch the regular cut eventually.
Yeah, I might watch the extended cut eventually. Maybe.
So House of the Dead, then In the Name of the King. Even that, because theoretically, if I watch the one that's shorter, that's the word. I was like slighter. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So if I watch the one that's shorter, this could be like a 4. But I'd put House of the Dead, then In the Name of the King, and then probably Rampage, and then Alone in the Dark, and then Bloodrayne. But all right, thanks for watching that Uwe Boll episode. Thomas, what are we watching next week?
Let me pull it up here on my phone.
So this is like a loose remake? This is
It's not a remake. I don't even know how close it is to the film.
It's just a double feature that one of them is an old movie and one of them is one that's supposed to be similar.
For those listening, I found this list on Letterboxd that's like, oh, if you like this movie from the 2010s, check out this.
Okay. I've seen that list.
Yeah. Good list. So the movies we're going to be watching next week is a movie from 1978 called Killer of Sheep, and then Moonlight.
By Barry Jenkins?
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
So Moonlight by Mr. Barry Jenkins is available on Netflix or Canopy, but everybody's got Netflix.
Most people.
Everyone is in me and you.
Yes.
Or at least access to Netflix. And then, what was it? Killer of Sheep?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by Charles Burnett. Nice. I've been meaning this has been like near the top of my watch list for quite some time.
Okay.
Cool. I've been meaning to watch a ton of Charles Burnett films. I watched
I don't know if I'm from
I watched a short film he made called When It Rains a couple months ago, and I really enjoyed it. I'm like, I need to watch the rest of his movies. And I just haven't, so.
The only other movie of his that I've even heard of is the To Sleep with Anger. Which when I picked this, I had no idea he directed that.
Yeah, I've heard To Sleep with Anger is like fucking incredible.
Yeah, no, I've heard the same thing.
I've also heard The Glass Shield is pretty good. It's also like about police, though, and I'm like, I don't really want to watch that right now.
Fair.
Okay, cool. So we'll be back next week for that, and it'll be exciting. And exciting things are coming in October.
Yeah. I can announce that. I'm going to be doing 30 days of Halloween. Howl as in like a werewolf.
They're only 30 days?
31 days of Halloween.
Okay.
My bad. You may have noticed that there is no E10 horror review up this week. I didn't record one, but I will have one up next week. Consider this a week-long hiatus.
Whoa.
I know.
And I'll probably review something soon. I've just been lazy.
Nice.
All right. Toodaloo, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Adios.